This episode features an inspirational facilitator whose favourite thing is to empower women to feel good. The soft and strong, wild and free, fragile and fierce Sophie Clere. Together, we take a no bullshit look at Sophie's journey from disconnection to body confidence and the pleasures and heightened sexuality of her perimenopause. Yes, you heard that right. More sex, more libido, and more fun. There is some explicit language, so if that's not your thing, you might prefer to listen to a different episode. My name's Kate, and this is Life an Inside Job, the podcast where we explore how to nourish our inner worlds and make them a great place to hang out, so that our outer lives can be more fun, meaningful, and pleasurable. If you like this conversation, afterwards, it would be just brilliant if you could possibly rate it, maybe with 5 stars, that would be fab. And maybe even leave a little review on iTunes. Not only because it will make me happy, but also because people need to know this stuff. And by leaving a review, people will be able to read that there are some great ideas here, practical, actionable tips about how to live a more pleasurable life. Hey, Sophie.
Kate?
Tell me about body confidence. What does that mean to you? It occurred to me that it can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. But I'm interested in what that means for you.
Yeah, well, I can say this. I didn't used to have it, and now I do. So for me, yeah, I actually, interestingly, in my younger years, I was way less confident. I had way more hang-ups about my body, when I'm sure it was absolutely beautiful, and 20 years younger than it is now. But something shifted in me where I don't know, I appreciate it more. And I think that is partly just getting older, knowing myself better, and I like to get it out a bit. So I do like to, I feel comfortable with my nudity and that kind of thing. And I think that all of those things help me, but I think it is different for everybody. But so it's kind of impossible to say what it would be for somebody else, but yeah. I can say what it is for me, you know?
Yeah.
And
I often see your bum. I open up my phone and I look at my Instagram feed and it's, there's Sophie's lovely bum.
Yeah, I always liked my bum, and I still do. So we've always had a fairly good relationship. But it is like that, isn't it? It's your relationship with yourself. Mm-hmm. How do I feel about my body? And it's not necessarily as easy as that, because we have bits of our body that we like more and less, and bits that we appreciate, or bits that are more functional than other bits. And so it's not necessarily like I love my body in its entirety. It's like, I can appreciate parts of my body for what they give me and for what they allow me to do in my life, as well as like the aesthetics. And I think we do kind of like narrow down on aesthetics a lot, don't we?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that, say, if you take like the tricep, so underarms, lots of people have, just as an example, lots of people have negative feelings about their underarms. They think that they're too wibbly or too this or that. And what you're describing is, over a process of time, is going from judging a part of your body to kind of enjoying it. So it's like changing your relationship with, improving your relationship with your partner, or changing your relationship with a friend, or becoming more friendly. Would that kind of describe it?
With more, yeah, more friendly, because it might not be that we can go from like really not liking a part of ourselves to loving it. I mean, that just seems a little bit too much of a leap, doesn't it? But could we appreciate the texture of it? Could we appreciate its wobbliness? You know, can we enjoy what that part of our body affords us? Like, you know, like I might have, for example, one of my areas that I don't love so much is my neck. I don't like, as I'm aging, it's like, you know, I'm like, really? But my neck is like, it's also like long, and it helps my head move around, and I can do all of these amazing things with my upper body. And it's like, so how can I not appreciate my neck? You know, it might not be my favorite bit, but I can still love it for what it is, you know?
So are you shifting your attention from appearance to function?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I would start. That's where I would start, because I think it's a tangible way in, isn't it? It's like, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the thing that is just astonishing is that all this stuff is completely invisible to the outside world. Now I'm looking at your neck thinking, what is she on about?
What are you talking about?
A necky neck. It's necky.
I know. But we spend all day looking at ourselves and dying, you know, we do, you know. I think some of us more than others, but we've kind of been made that way. Well, I can say, you know, I grew up with a mother who literally talked about going on a diet every week, I think, you know, like, oh, I've got to lose some weight, I've got to lose some weight, I've got to lose some weight. And it's like, that's gonna, you know, that's gonna imprint somewhere, isn't it?
That teaches you how to be in a female body.
Right. Exactly.
That it needs improving, and you need to be smaller all the time, and receive less in terms of nourishment. And sorry, I have a lot of opinions about the diet industry. And so if you're not okay and smaller, you're too big for your boots, and you're not allowed to receive nourishment, then what does that do to your spirit, you know?
That's heavy, isn't it?
It's yeah, and it, you know, in the kind of the world of magazines and the world of sort of mainstream culture, oh, it makes me so angry. It's dressed up as healthy and vital, but the message is still, I see out there, the message is still that you should be smaller and you're not okay as you are. Everywhere. But then people, they, you know, it's got more sophisticated and a bit more slick these days, and it's often about health. But I really question. I see the misogyny in it. It's my view.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult to really pick apart, like, where does that come from? Where did that belief start in myself? You know, because it's so, you know, layered, isn't it?
I would even question whether there's any point in picking it apart. I think it's here. I would suggest that for most of us that will lead us down a rabbit hole of looking up our asses. With me, because I'm an expert at looking at my arse.
Me too.
I've done nearly 30 years of looking at my arse, and I have pieces of paper to prove it. You know, I have lots of certificates to say that I'm very good at looking at my arse. But I think the actual gold is in the here and now.
Absolutely. And when and so when I kind of get angry at the world for, you know, whatever issues I seem to have, I realize that's also limiting as well. You know, it's like, actually, like you say, in the here and now, what can I do to change it? How can I feel more satisfied within myself, you know, within myself, you know, without blaming my mum. It, you know, she just did the best that she could with what she had. And I think that, you know, in a lot of ways that wasn't a great deal in terms of like female empowerment. And, you know, so it's like I have to start from me.
Yeah.
And what I guess the journey that I've kind of like traveled on has been, it's taken a while, you know, it's taken I remember in my 30s, so I'm 44 now, and I remember there was a point in my 30s where I allowed myself to wear skirts. I got my legs out because my legs were always too pale. I used to think they were too pale, kind of like they wouldn't tan, you know, they weren't a great colour. And then I just went, can I swear?
Yes, swearing is allowed and encouraged.
I just went, fuck it, I'm getting my legs out.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a real shift for me of just like, actually, my legs are great. They might not be like golden brown, but they're great.
So what,
you know?
what was the trigger? What changed you from hiding your legs to saying fuck it? Can you remember?
I actually, honestly, I mean, it could have been my yoga practice potentially, but I don't even think it was. I actually can't tell you. It just changed. But that wasn't, you know, that was the start of it, and that was in my early 30s. And it's taken a really long time because, you know, there were lots, you know, did lots of destructive things to my body in my 30s. But, you know, so that was a piece of it, but there was lots of other pieces that needed to, you know, to come in before you can be where you're at now. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more between now and, you know.
Can you say a bit about those pieces that have come in to support you?
Yeah, I would say so I've practiced yoga since, I mean, for many, many years, but I was seriously practicing yoga, I'd say, from my sort of late-ish 20s. However, I still felt I didn't know this at the time, but there was still a disconnection between my body and my soul. So I had my yoga practice that I did, and it was quite a physical thing, but I was still having very toxic relationships. I was still having sex with people that I just shouldn't have been having sex with for my soul. And I was very much looking outside to fill myself, to fill the holes that I felt were there. And which I know, it's a classic, I know, but that's what was happening. And at some point, I just went, it got so bad that I just went, okay, I cannot continue with this. I cannot. I think I realized what I was doing to myself, you know. So I feel like the change has been the melding of my body and my soul and my spirit and my being, which means that I now realize that there's a communication and a dialogue between, you know, the big I and the little I, whatever you want to call it, you know, myself and my body, and what I do with my body impacts my soul.
For somebody who doesn't use the word soul or can't really relate to that, can you give us a kind of practical example of what that communication might look like between big I and little I, or body and soul, or what does that form does that take on a daily basis?
Like a felt yes or no within my body.
And how does that show up for you?
So it would be, I don't know, like, if I go sea swimming, for example, go sea swimming quite a lot. If I'm kind of like, does my body want this? Does this feel right for me to go in the sea today? It's like a dialogue that I have with myself, and I can feel it. Or if I'm in, I know none of us are really in rooms with other people at the moment, but say, you know, if I'm with someone that I don't feel comfortable with, or if someone asks something of me that is not okay, then I feel it in my body.
What do you feel? I'm so nosy and nerdy about this because everybody does it differently, you know. It's like,
what do I feel? It's just,
what does no feel like inside yourself?
It's like fuck off. You know, if it's a no, it's just like it's a no. It's just like a closing.
A closing.
And yes, my body will open.
Okay. And you're making a gesture in your upper.
Yeah, so it's like yeah, exactly, like a closing and a protection, and when it's a yes, it's an opening and a softening. You know, and I feel that in my belly. I feel that you know, in my yoni, or my, you know, it's like I feel it viscerally, and then I do what my body wants.
So you have your own portable inner guru.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think I do. I really think I do.
And so does everybody.
Yeah.
So does everybody.
I think it's totally accessible. We just have to start building that connection and that relationship with ourselves. And the thing is that we're not taught that, we're not shown that. That's, you know, so it's there, but we have to find it, we have to connect to it. And there's lots of ways of doing that, which is great. So yeah, for me, I would say the path of like conscious sexuality has been a huge journey for me, because that was where my really negative patterns were, and I've been able to go on a journey that has transformed those. And so now I have real authority and real integrity, and, you know, I'm sweet with myself, and, you know, so that's just been like a huge shift for me, again, that has taken quite a long time.
And I mean, could you say something about conscious sexuality and what that is, and about your journey? Would that be okay? If it's not something you want to share, then that's fine too. I
can definitely share it. I mean, again, I got to a place where it was so bad that I had to make a change. And I feel like, for me anyway, in my life, that's generally what happens. You know, things get so shit, you can't ignore them anymore. And then, you know, or something happens, or your body reacts in a way that, you know. So actually, when do I share this? I think I can share this.
Ask your body. No, ask the inner guru. No. Okay.
I'm happy to.
Okay.
My body, when I was at that point of like, this is so bad, I actually developed like a chronic thrush condition that lasted for, it actually lasted like more than a year. But it prevented me from doing things that were damaging to myself. Yeah. So my body was just like, no, you're not going to be doing this anymore. Like, she actually prevented it from happening.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, you get ads for thrush cream on the telly at the moment, which is good, you know, that we can talk about that. That's good. But it does interest me as a body mind kind of a person, that we would ignore what our bodies are saying and slap some cream on and get on with it, you know.
Yeah, of course. But quick fixes, we like quick fixes, don't we?
Oh,
So,
I love a quick fix.
love a quick, me too, you know, I do, but you know, what's that saying? The way out is through. It's like, you know, so with the conscious sexuality, that still took a long time to come in from that point, you know, like a few years till I just got to a point where I actually, I'll tell you what happened. I wanted to explore it, and I wasn't sure where to start. So what I did was I went and had a tantric massage with a woman. And I went and had a tantric massage with a woman, and it was honestly one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had with my body. And I was just like, wow, you know, our bodies are incredible, capable of giving us so much pleasure, you know, and we just don't know it. We don't know it. We don't have access to it. We're not, you know, we don't have that mentoring as we grow up, you know, as we become women. We don't have someone saying, well, you know, your body can do this and let me show you, and like, you know, how amazing would that have been? But no, it like took me until I was 40, and that's when I started, you know, really diving into that. But you know, that was the start for me. And then I went on a journey of I did some work with an organization called ISTA, which is Institute for Shamanic Temple Art. So they bring in like tantra and shamanism, and it's a really beautiful week-long process of kind of rediscovering yourself sexually and sensually. And that's when I started to really understand and really learn about my boundaries, what's okay for me, what, you know, that kind of stuff. Where do I disconnect? What engages me? What disconnects me? And, you know, so started learning a lot from that point, really, in terms of like conscious sexuality. It's big as well, because as women, it's like we are sexual, sensual beings, but again, our sexuality, our sensuality is kind of what's the word? Commodified, isn't it? So again, it's like, when is it really our own? You know, we're either of baby making years or we're not.
So let's do it, Sophie. Let's talk about the real juicy stuff, which is what I was really I'm so interested in at the moment, and that's menopause and pleasure, and menopause and sexuality. And I know that you are in perimenopause at the moment. How has that impacted your relationship with your body and your relationship to pleasure?
I think I have. I'm laughing because the first thing that came into my mind was like, there is a sense of urgency. There's a sense of,
thank you.
Yeah, there's a sense of urgency because, oh look, I've got no intention of like going, well, you know, I'll be sexually active till 50 and then that'll be me done. Not a chance. I am going for as long as I can go for, you know, like in my mind, I am just getting started on this, you know.
Can I just say, I'm waving my pom-poms.
Yeah, I won't have it. I won't have it. I'm not going to be we've had this conversation before. I'm just not going to be the woman that goes and just shuffles off into a corner and, you know, just isn't seen or heard, or, you know, it's like, well, I'm not really interested in sex anymore. I have to say, I mean, I have quite a high sex drive. I really do, and I need it. And you know, I know that might shift. I know women in their 70s who are very juicy. Thank you very much. And I hope I'm one of them. So,
there's a fair chance you might be.
I hope so. I hope so. You know, I would be sad to think that I kind of lost my mojo in, you know, in 5 or 10 years time. I don't know, maybe I will, maybe, I mean, I'm just at the start of, you know, I'm just at the start of sort of that perimenopausal time. So, or the last couple of years or whatever, the last couple of years have been the sexiest years of my life so far, by far. So if it keeps escalating, then, you know, escalating, or, you know, if I keep expanding in the way that I'm expanding now, then hoorah.
Who bloody rah.
Who bloody rah.
I think this is such an important, it's so important for people to hear that there is the full spectrum of possibilities through perimenopause. And, you know, because we're human, we are kind of addicted to the dramatic negativity. So, you know, oh, there was a road crash outside, you know, and we say, oh, it was terrible, and this happened, all these bad things happened, and everybody kind of gets stuck into that. But actually, there is a full range of possibility and of sexual expression through menopause. And I also want to acknowledge the extreme suffering that happens as well for some people, and full expression, and as you know, the place that you're in of expansive joy and expansive expression of your sexuality through your 40s.
Yeah, and you know, and that really has come about, you know, because I was in a place that was so different to that. You know, I used sex to try and get what I wanted. You know, I never had any trouble getting sex. I could get sex whenever I wanted it, really. I didn't want that though. I wanted a partner, but the way that I thought I could get a partner was through having sex. Well, that was a flawed plan. You know, that just did not work for me. So, you know, it took me a while to realize that that was not the way forward. And though I kind of feel sad that I had to go through that, and that I was quite numb, and, you know, that I would disassociate when I had sex, because I kind of had to, because I was leaving myself every single time. I was sort of abandoning me, you know, when I would do this. And so I do feel sad about it, but, you know, in that whole like pleasure pain thing, it's like, well, now I appreciate what I have so much. You know, like because of having that journey and that time that felt really shit, where I was not sovereign at all. I did not take care of myself. That now I'm like, I have really good boundaries. I'm not saying that I don't get it wrong sometimes, but I do. I don't allow people who aren't deserving of me and my body and my energy to have that. Yeah, and I take care of it. I nurture it, and I love my sexual, sensual side of myself. She's wild and she's slutty and she's like, you know, she's great. She's great. And I trust her now, and I didn't before.
Now that I think that is like a real kind of big bell thing, that because in our overculture, the wild, liberated, sexual female self is necessarily by our culture painted as a negative force.
Yeah.
Untrustworthy, dangerous, you know, will take what isn't hers.
Yeah.
So to hear that you have this beautiful energy and that you trust it is just, it's just so beautiful to hear.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she was there all the time, but I couldn't let her out. And now, and not only sexually, like when I'm like in the sea squealing, that's her too. When I'm like dancing wildly, that's her too. That, you know, she expresses herself in different ways.
I wonder, and I don't know, this is just me wondering, if there is a rather sort of artificial boundary that we draw between sexual expression and other creative expression. So I would think of it more as life force, something along those lines, more like libido or life force, or something about that, something about being plugged into the universe and energy coming through us for expression. And that might be to feel sexual pleasure with yourself or with somebody else or lots of people in various ways, or it might be dancing, or it might be drawing a picture, or it, you know. And I think that we get really hung up on how this libido is very old-fashioned. I think it's old-fashioned language. I think how this energy gets expressed, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think that, yeah, like that really, what you just said totally, yeah, that resonates, that really does. Because actually, I realized actually, even in this conversation, like she wasn't really being expressed when I was younger because I didn't have access to it because I was numbing out, you know? So it wasn't like she was there and behaving badly. Maybe she was a bit, I need to sort of feel into it, but it was more that I just didn't have that connection at all. Yeah. You know? So when you are able to create a positive relationship with yourself and your body and your, I don't know if you don't, if not soul, being, or whatever, then that energy can start to be, I don't know.
It just comes out.
Flow. Yeah, it can flow.
It just flows. Yeah, I think that's the thing. But in order for it to flow, some stuff has to be in place. Like you have to have space, enough time. You know, if you're living in a really, 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 really busy life and everything is, then there's no space for it. If you're kept small by something, by a relationship or a role you're stuck in, or because you can't eat well enough or not eating well enough, or, you know, all those things that keep us small, reduce our aliveness and reduce our capacity to allow this flow. So it's my favorite paradox in well-being. It's very, very simple. It's much more simple than we would like it to be. You know, we always look for the big fancy, you know, there's I like a big structure and a philosophy, and, you know, actually it's really simple, but it's just quite hard. to have all that stuff in place in our complex lives, complex lockdown, pandemic lives.
Absolutely. And having the support around you as well, you know,
Oh,
because
let's talk about that, Sophie.
oh, yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, I think I was supposed to be interviewing you, but I think it's like all about me. It's always all about me. What I notice from myself and from the people, my friends and the people I work with, is that having a supportive, loving, encouraging community is absolutely essential, non-negotiable for our flow.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And this becomes, you can probably get by pre-menopause without, you know, you can probably get by because you have enough estrogen to whoosh you through. But actually, as menopause passes, these places of support, however you structure them, you know, you might be, well, we're probably all Zooming these days, but are absolutely crucial.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like they're the walls of my building. And I have really consciously drawn in circles of support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peer groups mostly, actually.
Yogis.
Peer groups.
Or
So
peer groups.
mates.
Yeah.
It's a fancy way of saying mates.
Mates.
And usually
People that
meeting, but with a kind of structure so that there's, yeah, it's safe.
Yeah. People that get you, and not necessarily people that are gonna agree with you.
No.
But people that understand you. It's really important. It's really important. Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, I feel that now, you know, and actually bringing it back to perimenopause, like one thing that I don't have the energy for now is people who drain my energy. So,
oh yeah.
so I can't do it. I can't give my time to people that are going to suck me dry, because I just don't have, I'm not resourced like that. And or maybe it's more that I give too much of a shit about myself these days. That I'm just not going to do it because actually I care about my mental health and well-being too much.
That is the holy menopausal gift of discernment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it is awesome. I mean, for me, like someone like me, I'm a real ditherer. Like, oh, should I do this or should I do that? You know, I spent my whole life going, oh, I'm not sure. What do you think? Oh, and like menopause, it's that one.
That one.
No, yes. This is fun. It saves a lot of energy.
Yeah, and time.
And time.
And that's the thing when I was talking about urgency, it's that as well. It's that, you know, you get to that, for me anyway, I'm at this point where I'm like, second half of my life, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
What do I want to create? Who do I want to be, you know, in the second half of my life?
So, Sophie, what are your non-negotiables around caring for yourself in your life?
It's very micro. My non-negotiables are like day-to-day non-negotiables now, rather than I absolutely must go on a retreat every year or whatever, because we're just not living in that world at the moment, are we? So my non-negotiables are that I get up, I do my journaling, unless if it doesn't happen, I don't, you know, beat myself up about it if I have a day off. But it really helps me to just process stuff and just like rage on the page, whatever I need to do, just get stuff out. Really helps just with my clarity, and you know, so I move in some way every day. So whether that's walking on the beach or doing some yoga or lifting some weights or whatever it is, I move my body somehow in one way or maybe two, you know, I don't know. I mean, I just am much more boundary with my time and my space, to the point that I upset other people. I do.
Yeah.
Because there's that saying, what is it? The only people that have a problem with your boundaries are those that benefited from you not having them in the first place. So, you know, and it's no one's fault. It's just that things change, and I think actually that has been a gift of lockdown as well. For me, it's been perimenopause and lockdown has made me much more boundaried with my energetic space, you know. So that is something that I really take care of too. It's very simple, like really simple.
Yeah,
Eat some
but
good
these kind of simple micro, you call them, things that done every day make a massive difference. Small things make a huge difference when you do them every day.
Yeah, and they're different for everyone, aren't they? I mean, I don't have a shower every day at the moment. I don't put a bra on every day. I hardly ever do, actually. But you know, but for someone else, their non-negotiables could be, I have a, you know, I always make sure that I do my hair and I put my makeup on, or whatever makes them feel ready. You know, those are mine. It's like connection. It's just like connect myself first.
Yeah.
What is it? Check in with yourself before you check in with the world. That's Matthew McConaughey said that in a podcast I was listening to recently, and I just thought that was so good.
Yeah, straightforward, really simple.
Yeah.
So what is your one, are you going to have one top tip that you could give to other people to improve their body confidence?
I would write down what makes you feel good. I'd write it down. What makes you feel good? And then I would do more of that. And you could be more, you know, what makes me feel good in my body? Write it down, do more of that. That would be a good start. Like, what makes your body kind of like smile inside, or yeah.
Excellent.
That would be one simple thing.
Yeah.
You could do.
Yeah. Do more of that. Yes, and that do more of that there, and then there is a whole other.
Oh, there's so much. You know, I could give a long list, but I won't.
Okay, and Sophie, thank you so much. I appreciate your menopausal gift of discernment for gifting us this time, and your wonderful journey, and your what is it called? Your authority and your wisdom and your gorgeous vibrancy is not a small gift for us. So thank you so much. Where do we find you when we want to look at your bum? Or when we want to engage with your rather marvelous workshops, where you won't possibly not.
Well, it's all part and parcel, to be honest. I actually made a video yesterday for an online journaling course that I'm running at the moment, and it's a movement video, and I was in my underwear for it, and I was like, yes, finally. You know, I would have done it naked if I could, but you know, it's like, yeah, finally, I'm, you know, this is good. Yeah, this is good. You know. Anyway, my bum. Yes. So I'm. Yes. And I'm Sophie.Clere on Instagram. I love how your hair's gone all white.
Sophie.Clere.
Sophie.Clere, Cleere, and Sophie spelled with a PH.
Okay.
And my website is sophieclere.com. And those are really the two main places, really. But I run monthly self-love classes for women to just have some time to themselves and just connect to their bodies. And I run sort of every 2 to 3 months, I run 21-day journaling courses, which are really, they're amazing actually. I feel really proud of them, and very simple daily prompts, which go into all of the areas that we've been talking about. And yeah, and there's some different practices and stuff there too. Yeah, so that's something that I do that people could check out if they wanted to.
Oh, lovely, fabulous resources. Thank you so much, Sophie, for talking to us.
You're welcome, it was a pleasure. I had to sing the end.
I bet you have some pretty groovy thoughts in your mind now about what gives you pleasure. So why not go and do some of it now, or make a plan about when this is going to happen and how you're going to get more fun. Sophie is such an inspiration. I'd love to hear your response to the issues we discussed today. We cannot have too much discussion about pleasure, about body confidence, about perimenopause and loving ourselves as we age. You know, together we're rewriting the script right now. I'd also love to hear your tips about how you improve your inside life and your body confidence. You can come and tell me on Instagram at Kate_Codrington, where you'll also find all the latest workshops and events and loads of cool freebies on offer. Please join me again very soon for another episode and another juicy discussion about the inside life.